Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, bro. Thank you so much for your music. Thank you so much.
So this one, to press it on and off. Just
Test.
this one and this one stays like that. No, no, don't press. It's just it's on, it's on. Okay. So to the camera. This one is for live stream. So yeah. This is for this speaker. This is for live stream. The camera. This is for everything in here.
Okay. All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. Oh man, I want to hear some voice here. Good evening. You know what? It's a special occasion when you have two microphones. I got two microphones. It means today is a special day. All right. Thank you so much for coming to today's event. You know, it has been a great. It has been fun for the past few days. And we are honored to have our brother, Professor PLO, in Cincinnati. Before we introduce, or before even I start, I want to give a special shout out to all folks who have helped plan this event. You know, it took a lot of planning and time to get this done. And so hopefully I'm not going to miss some names, but first of all, I would like to take to the all the PLO planning team. If you're here, I know I see a couple of them in the house. Rajesh in the back. Please give Rajesh a big clap. Rajesh in the back. Where's my brother Martin? Martin Kimani, where's Martin here? Martin is getting his drinks on. What's up, Martin? I have O'Neill, the camera person in the back. O'Neill, thanks so much, O'Neill. I do have, of course, we all know David Mutua. My brother Alex. Thanks so much, man. Thank you so much, Alex. And also the sponsors, right? You know, this event is not possible without what? Funding. All right, and funding also people who are also very helpful in this event. Before I go to the funding, give you a big shout out to Judge Yates in the house. Man, Jack Yates, my God, man, he's been so much a blessing to our community. And so we do appreciate all your support and all your help. Thanks so much, Judge Yates. And also a big thanks to the University of Cincinnati. Bearcat, go Bearcat! Yeah. UC, and I'll make sure I mention specific UC departments, right? UC Office of the Provost, very helpful. UC Africa, Dr. Takugan in the house. UC Claremont, I have Jeff Rubel in the house. And of course, UC Office of the Diversity, Equity, and Impact Office. Dr. Office, thanks so much for your support. We have also, I'll make sure I just don't forget. We have, let me make sure I don't miss out. I want my folks to, I know usually when I miss a name, they keep tracking me down, right? So I'll make sure I have the Wakanda team in the house. Wakanda, yeah, thanks so much. I have Multicultural Solutions, Clara. Madam Clara! I have Optimin. Optimin is a company that helps us. Big shout out to Optimin. Please, big shout out to Optimin. We do have the Foreign Policy Leadership Council. Big shout out to Foreign Policy Leadership Council. I think just to make it easier, I'll just mention all the names and we give a big clap at the end. I'm making it much easier. So we have Code 51, Apollo Medical Group, African Association, Cal International. I gotta say, David Mutua for that. Sham, my God, Sham is a DJ, audio, video production. Sham, you are doing, thanks so much for all your help. And then Higher Education Loans and Higher Education Loans Board. Thank you so much for that. We watched a video yesterday, right? Thank you. The Global Standards Resources. Thank you so much. And firstly, we got two big ones. I'll give a big shout out to the PLO Foundation. And I know that we're gonna talk about PLO Foundation in a few hours, in a few minutes. But for those of you guys who haven't checked it out, all right, PLO Foundation is in about 30 years doing good work. And if you did not donate, please go back and donate. It's a lot of work that is happening. We need your support. So please, at some point, try and donate to support the mission of PLO Foundation. Thanks so much. And lastly, big shout out to UpNet. No, I mean, I think you guys realize that, UpNet is really all of us. It's not just one person. We've been here for about 10 years, 11 years, and it's all, you guys been to our events all the time. So again, thanks so much for that. Without wasting too much time, I believe the next is what? Is that the Wakanda present? So, all right, Wakanda presentation, I believe is gonna be about a few minutes. I spoke to him already. And I know most of you guys watched the Wakanda, the movie Wakanda. There's a project called Wakanda Project about small cities in Africa. There's one starting in Ghana. So you could be a partner in investing. Even though you might not go there, you could choose to go there. There's a first project in Ghana. Second project is in Kenya. And I think we have to get involved. We have to get involved because I see we spend so much time here in the US. It's fun. We invest here. We got to also invest where? Back home. So let's give a big shout out to brother. What's his first and last name? Make sure I got it right. James. Thanks so much, James. Thank you. I think. I think. And this is too max because of the. there's still COVID restrictions, so please abide by.
This one is live streaming. KDRTV. Yes. Organizers of the PLO Lumumba tour in the United States are represented here, and those who are not here, including the president, Dr. Robert Shiori, the hosts in this university, Cincinnati, sponsors, and our distinguished guests, the PLO Lumumba team. Greetings and salutation, all protocol observed tonight. How are you? It's a great pleasure to be here and on the second night, just to share about this amazing concept developed by our friends, colleagues, and particularly Dr. Abazinda Alikanda Chiombori, the visionary behind the Wakanda cities of return. My role tonight is just to share with you the conviction that has made us rally behind this great vision and be part of what we believe will bring a great transformation and raise the position of the African diaspora into fulfilling the vision for which most of us have discussed and talked about over the years. Many people have attempted great projects, have done amazing, have put together a lot of effort to transform the various parts of the African continent that we come from. That's not only reflected by the impact that we have in the Western world, where most of us have been in the academia, in the engineering field, of finance, and all other form of development or activities that have brought development in these countries. And I believe that a time has come that we may all rally behind great leaders who have clear vision and direction to fulfill our destiny. The vision for the Wakanda City of Returns is not just a philosophy, but it's a pragmatic solution to the many things that have been said about Africa. Recently, watching a clip that has gone viral in the social media, we realize that every time many people sit, and that's non-Africans, sit to discuss about our continent, they talk about diseases, sicknesses, drought, hunger, and war. That narrative has been created so that we determine our destiny, but depend on the saviors of African wars, saviors of diseases and drought and sicknesses, and even the current pandemic. We are always on the receiving end, so it is discussed in these big boardrooms, so that whatever is of great value in our continent may be squandered while we are being helped. Tonight, I'm here to say that we are not at the mercies of the helpers, or so they would think. We are a continent that has produced world leaders who, in their own capacity, have turned around economies, have engaged in international discourses, creating a better world that is humane, that is productive, that is progressive and peaceful. Some of the international winners or achievers of the high prizes have sacrificed their lives to be able to offer not just our continent, but the rest of the world solutions that are so important into making life better. But those challenges or those opportunities have been grabbed, and we have been demonstrated as people or a community that cannot solve its own problems. The Wakanda vision is a vision that brings us together to say, yes, we can. We can not only lead the superpowers of this world, we can not only provide solutions to issues that are facing the world, we can live in houses that we have built, drive cars that we have manufactured, travel around the world with aeroplanes that we ourselves have designed and manufactured and produced. And that cannot be explained better, but in looking at the solutions that people of African descent have brought in the industries that I'm talking about. Designers of amazing new generation vehicles, smart vehicles, designers in the Boeing industry, and all these other places where engineers of African descent have had huge impact. So Wakanda City of Return, which is not going to be one, we're going to have many cities of return across the entire continent, are places of creativity, innovation, and transformation. They are hubs of solution for the international market, but also hubs of demonstration of good governance, creation of solutions that makes life possible, exciting, and raises the happy index of our communities. Tonight, I'm humbled to you the second Wakanda City of Return, which is called Proximity Point in Malindi, Kenya. Proximity is located in the coastal strip of East Africa. It's nearer to the Lamu port, the new port that has just been launched in Kenya, which opens the African exports into most of the rest of the world through the ocean. We are also near the Malindi port, Mombasa, the big hub for international trade within the East African region. We border a 1 million acre agribusiness project by the Kenyan government, which is still under course, and also the greatest animal, what you'd call wildlife reserve in Kenya, the Tsavo Park. The vision for Wakanda Proximity Point in East Africa is to harness not just the human resource among the diaspora community, but also our financial remittances that are now settling at around between $44 to $47 billion every year. It's an opportunity for us to harness our networks, which we have established over the years. On average, the East African or the Sub-Saharan diaspora community have engaged economically in the Western world for over 100 years now. And this is a time to see that now can be translated into activities that will be demonstrated in the African continent as the next giant or the next world superpower. We have the abilities, we have the resources. Gone are the days where every mineral has to be exported and then brought back to Africa as a huge cost because of its value addition and the production that we could easily be able to translate within our own knowledge. Very briefly, I'm just going to demonstrate to you what this city is designed to look like. This is just the first phase of the Wakanda city. It's a very well master planned city with its own airstrip, with a university and a hospital referral facility. We have a cathedral park for international conferencing, residential areas, and also our industrial park for producing all our consumable products. This city has been designed with you in mind, and that's why we are talking about it here tonight. You don't have to be Kenyan to be part of the Wakanda city in Kenya. Wakanda cities are for all human beings of African descent and their friends and their extended families, because now We've become families across the world. Africans have intermarried in Europe, in America, and in other parts of the world, including Asia. So these cities provide you with a home where you don't need necessarily to live in it, but you can also become a solution provider to issues of modern smart cities in the world. We have designed this with great concern of modern environmental concerns. We are going to be a solution to issues of climate change. We're going to offer solutions to issues of wastage and recycling, so that provision of this city that is governed by the diaspora community is able to give us a good future. It's not only able to give us ability to live in a harmonious modern world, but also demonstrates what it means to give back to our own people. The economics of the city will be established around modern ethical economies, where we are able to provide residential accommodation for people living in the city because of our ability to learn industries and modern solutions to better living. So with proper master plan within the city, we will be able not only to guide the way activities are done, but we are also going to make sure that it's not going to be like all the mushrooming slums that you find in urban areas. So there'll be proper control of the delivery of solutions. To make this effective, we have come up with a solution where members of the diaspora community can participate directly or indirectly. Yeah, thank you very much. Can you open it for me? Thank you, sir. Highly appreciated. Thank you. So the focus of these cities, and I'm now zeroing down to the city in East Africa, the Wakanda City of Return Proximity Point, is to ensure that we are able to translate our knowledge, our ability, our skills, our networks into the African continent without necessarily immigrating or re-immigrating, going back to the country of your origin. So you have that opportunity to engage in beautiful smart cities where your skills can be fully utilized from the Western world without breaking your family cycle or your focus in life. So this gives you an opportunity not to regret. So we aim to create livable, safe, and prosperous urban localities with communal wealth channeled back into the society transparently. So the resources that are created in these cities are channeled in back to the community. You'll notice when I show you some of the images of the social housing is that about 60% of the houses developed as social housing would be used for foster caring, for old age homes and supporting of people who live in isolation in Africa because their sons and daughters immigrated, they didn't make it, so they are not able to give the support that traditionally would be given. There will be generation of opportunities towards employment, elasticity, especially for the youth through sustainable city ecosystems. Currently, I head an organization called the Diaspora Institute of Employability and Enterprise Development. Within the last 2.5 years, we've been able to create, to train over 3,000 young people, ongoing program where we engage these young people in the project. We'll also have innovations that incorporate advanced models of reaching the low-income population and to tackle the whole issue of slums in the continent. We'll be looking at the decentralized renewable energy supplies that are low-cost, sustainable, and resilient. We are already working into capturing the solar capacities within the area and also the wind energy. We look at adequate governance capacities, working very closely with registered members of the Wakanda cities to ensure that the facilities, or rather the engagement in city and the development of the city is done within a monitored environment by a democratic communal bodies. We're also looking at social, cultural, and economic pluralism so as to benefit the unification of the city. So the whole idea here is to make a complete, developed, well-managed society that is replicable in the entire African continent so that we don't continue to be assumed as scones or laughingstock of the rest of the world. And this is possible and is doable in our just neighboring country in Rwanda. Some of these exercises are being demonstrated even before we are able to offer the solutions that we are talking tonight. So the city is diaspora supported, originated, and delivered. We are working all closely together so that we can exercise the abilities that we have already achieved and the skills and the capabilities that have been achieved through our life in the Western world. We look at a city that is self-sufficient, that contributes to the GDP of the entire nation or the nations that we represent to ensure that there's growth and support in repayment of national foreign debts and other commitments. We look at the foreign investments from the diaspora community and their partners and friends. The city will be technology-based, and therefore most of the aspects of running the city will work with Internet of Things alongside other solutions. Our designs of the houses are very Western. Is the coastal kind of designs that are able to operate with minimal use of power so that we are benefiting more from the light and the environment thereof. So in short, I just wanted to say that this is an opportunity for you. It's an opportunity you can participate in various levels. If you wanted to participate as a person who lives in the city, you can acquire plots. The plots are made available at very competitive prices because we believe that we should not penalize people to live in their own continent. Our revenue for making your living possible will be generated through our industrial activities, through our conferencing and referral hospitals and the medical tourism, which is part of what the city has been designed to offer. You can also participate by becoming a member. You don't have to live there, but you contribute in your area, whether you just become a social member who just contributes to ideas and popularizes the vision, or you become a professional member offering legal, accounting, and other services to the city, or a contractor who engages either in the development of the road networks, electricity, internet, and other provisions. These membership opportunities pre-qualifies you or gives you the opportunity to be pre-qualified for the services that you can still offer from the Western world without necessarily traveling to Africa. Technology has made the world much better. Earlier on today, I was talking with an expert who has worked with P&G over the years and looking at the solutions even of provision of basic consumables that we are importing from China and paying through the throat. Of course, sometimes you don't have to pay. It looks so cheap, but because you just have to turn them over, the cost through environmental degradation and other issues are just enormous. So this gives us the opportunity as the people who have worked in big multinational organizations to bring the solution by training young people, training women and other people in the African continent to produce these consumables in cottage industries for the betterment of the country. We've set aside over 500 acres of land in the city for purely industrial development and manufacturing things that we use. Yesterday, one of the ladies from Zimbabwe spoke about female resources. I use that name for for lack of a better vocabulary, that are now in desperate need in all the communities in Africa, and yet very, very expensive when imported from different countries, being able to produce those kind of products. Also, contractors. We want to do this very professionally. I've contracted in the Western world. I've lived in Scotland for over 20 years and in and out of the United Kingdom for almost 30 years. When we bid or when you register yourself as a government supplier, you are able to almost guarantee that if you meet the standards and if your company is properly structured with all the health and safety systems, you are able to get contracts. We want to guarantee our own people that you can participate. You can get that which you want out of the Wakanda city of return proximity point in Malindi. In summary, this is an opportunity for us. We've pointed fingers, we've blamed our governments, we've blamed our politicians, we've blamed the Western world, we've said they come and scoop our resources, they scoop off our minerals, they scoop off everything. What have you done about it? I was locked down in Kenya during the COVID. So I got to Nairobi on the 16th of March, 2016. I decided not to quarantine in Nairobi town. I went to Malindi. Our pineapple farm to a standard of export. So we got ISO certification and the necessary requirements for export. And today I can meet the demand of our pineapples in the Middle East and in Israel and in Europe. What am I trying to say? We may point fingers and blame others for our inactivity, for our lack of engagement, for our lack of participation. And when you see somebody like me here, I know the guy, the MC said, what's your name, Wakanda? Something like that. And then before the meeting is finished, these who are leaping us off, these are the people who have come to sell land, these are people who have come to do the other thing. But what I want to tell you, in the midst of those people who come to tell you stories, who come maybe to try and sell you things, there's some truth, there's some opportunity, there's some great ideas that could transform your participation. In the Ushindi Agribusiness Campus, where we're doing the pineapples, we have over 100 people employed. We're training quite a lot of young people to transform their lives. We have people who are taking manganese from the same area and exporting it to China for processing for us to get it back to Kenya as metal. What can you do to transform your community? How are you going to use the opportunity that our own visionary, our ambassador to the African Union, who has now converted to become the great promoter of unity and transition and transformation in the continent, how best use of that opportunity? So tonight, if you really want to change things in Africa, you don't have to wait for tomorrow. You can register as a member and choose the category in which you want to participate. Number two, you can acquire a piece of land either as a group or you can set up your factory or your cottage industry in a leased land, so you don't have to buy. There are people who are buying and developing warehouses, providing all the structures that are needed to make it possible for you to participate. So I think I want to, so much I can say about this city, but I want to give you an opportunity to ask direct questions so that I can respond. I said you can be part of the city by just acquiring a quarter acre of land at about $500 US, half an acre, $750, 1 acre at $1,000. That's almost giveaway because we want to say we mean what we are telling you. You can't get that kind of land anywhere else in the world. I think still stand to be challenged, but we have invested so that your life or your opportunities to participate in the civilization in Africa are possible. Thank you very much. You can ask the questions.
Do we have to use both my center?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's give Professor Lucas Njega a favor of applause. I know we have about 10 minutes for Q&A, so please let me know if you have any questions. I'll come up and perhaps take the question that you have. Yes, ma'am.
So can you walk us through the process of, say, for instance, I'm interested, like what happens now?
If you're interested, thank you. So we have a team with us here. You can register your interest. If say there are various levels of interest. If you want to become a member, you can register, pay the membership fee, and that's you in the system, and you start getting the information. As I said, we're breaking ground before the end of this year. If you are a contractor, you'll be able to bid either for doing the roads or the sewer system or whatever area of professions, whatever professional area you are in. If you want to acquire a piece of land, again, we are pre-registering interest. Our legal team will be able to engage with you, give you the contracts, and once you have verified the normal procedure, then you are able to a piece of land. So those are just the basic entry points. If you, for instance, I'll give an example. There's a team from here, from the United States, that are doing the hospital. They have already been engaging with the lawyers. They have come up with possible designs and all the activities, all the processes that are needed for setting up the hospital. We then start the approval processes and go through that. So for every stage, and that's why I'm just trying to be a bit general, it's very specific to what level of engagement you want, whether it's an institutional engagement, personal residence, boutique hotels, or tomorrow we are meeting with the Columbus Zoo. We are engaging on a conservancy, which is about 2,000 acres. So it really depends at what level you want to engage. But yes, we are going to take all the interest. Even people who just want to keep in touch will be getting that data so that we are able to give you the necessary information to participate. Thank you very much. So because you're interested, please make sure you register and give your information. Yeah.
What is the residency requirement for a non-Kenyan like myself who might be interested? And if, let's say, I bought an acre of land.
Yeah.
So it's a good question. What's the residency requirement for somebody like myself? And number two, if I bought an acre of land and I wanted to build something there, a residential apartment, can I then rent that residential apartment to somebody since I don't have, I'm not in Kenya all the time?
Okay, I'll answer both questions. The residency requirement, Kenya, the Kenyan government has a very robust website on the immigration requirements. What I know is that you can come into the country with a work permit, so that's somebody to work, or as an investor. An investor, you identify your investment. There's a minimum requirement of the investment that you can do, which if you're talking of building the house, that almost meets, is within, depending on what kind of house you want to invest in. We have what we call the Kenya Investment Authority. You register with the Kenyan Investment Authority, you identify the kind of investment you want to do, and then we verify that that's true, and you follow that process. In terms of what you have asked, which is the most interesting part, maybe you can show some of the boutique hotels and residences. I'm quite a bit unsettled that demonstrate proper PowerPoints of the things, but I'll be sharing this with everybody who registers. So the way it's been designed is that almost all the houses are both residential, but you can also use them for things like Airbnb, boutique hotels. Remember, our biggest thrust in the city conferencing. I've already been organizing great conferences in Africa. That's how I first met Professor PLO when he spoke in our Peace and Justice Conference in Africa. So we travel around the world doing peace and justice conferences. We've hosted HIV and AIDS conferences. We have hosted several investment conferences. So this city will have those kind of facilities which we manage, as opposed to paying premium in bigger hotels in other parts of the country. So with that opportunity, you are then able to either let out as short-term lets, or you're able to let to our doctors and professionals who will be living in the cities. Those are opportunities that are going to be made available. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Sorry, I have two questions. First of all, I'm a student here, and if I'm going to provide professional services as a student,
Yes.
And then, what is the requirement, minimum requirement that a student can invest in the project? Another thing is, when I get a contractor from Nigeria, where I come from,
Yeah.
maybe a government official to come and invest.
Yes.
I want to know, is there any kind of a visa, what to and if you're going to participate in terms of contractor,
Yes.
kind of,
Yeah.
I want to know, is there any kind of restriction for somebody who's not coming from the state, who's already in Nigeria, but he doesn't know about it, but I'm going to talk to him about this very project right now. I want to know what are the requirements and visas for that. Maybe I want to come right and invest, so is there any kind of program going to have from that? Thank you.
Very interesting question, and I'll answer that. So in terms of investment, actually our very first investor in this city in terms of infrastructure development is Ghanaian. This is a big Ghanaian company that does roads and things like that. There's no restriction as long as you comply with the Kenyan rules in terms of if say the proximity point, Wakanda, wishes to offer you a contractual service. We will then give you the necessary invitation letters to come and participate in the project. That's point number one. Point number two, as investors, as I said, we have Nigerians like the popular Dangote of Dangote Sugar and Dangote Cement and all that. He's Nigerian. We have quite a lot of Nigerians who are participating in the Kenyan economy, Ghanaians, and people from other Africa are participating already in the Kenyan economy. So I don't think it's a far-fetched idea to consider participating in Kenya. Personally, I have friends from the United Kingdom who have invested with us in some of the projects that we are involved in. So that's a possibility, and it's something that can be explored.
Okay. One more question. I know President looks is going to be around. So, and we also sent links online to you guys to register, saying to help them as well. So one more question that we would, I'll go, let's see here. I'll go inside. So sorry guys.
Okay. Actually, I would be more interested to see how the financials pan out. So my question would be, usually when you have things like this, it's usually like a great idea for the first 2-3 years. So I wanted to see if you have some type of firm that allows you to continue to sustain, the project and make sure that it continues to be top notch.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That's a good question. You are asking the sustainability of the project financially. Is that the question you're asking?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So imagine this as a cosmopolitan project. So you're looking at a city which has various dynamic activities. So it's not like a simple business plan where you say, we are going to produce coffee, this is the production, and this is the return. This is a place where a hospital will develop its own viability, a university will have its own financials and its own financial viability, and so on and so forth. The distinguishing point between many business enterprises and the Wakanda City of Returns, an engine that is driven by the support of the diaspora community. This is not just support in terms of donation, because that's not what we are looking for, but it's support in terms of participation. In Ghana, or I think it's the 12th, around the 5th of December, the diaspora community, including both the African American, the various people of African descent will be in Ghana for the launch of the first Wakanda City of Return. What that means is that there are people who have benevolence, who want to support maybe cottage industries, women projects, youth education, entrepreneurship, and things like that. So that's the first driver where all of us are giving back to empower our own community. The second driver is the conferencing, where we are able to offer exceptional conferencing facility with amazing weather and into the praise. And I can continue giving you the various streams that are going to be sustained independently. So yes, we cannot give a simple business plan. The entire city will cost about $10 billion US by the time it's fully finished to what we are estimating. The loan to value, if you're going to work as if the city is being financed, is something about 23% return on the investment. But that is if we were to make this as an individual business entity. But this is not one simple business entity, it's multiple businesses enshrined in a vision of the City of Return. And it's possible because we have seen companies. I live in the coastal part of Kenya when I'm in Kenya, and a company just came and started mining less than 3 years ago. They're now giving already back into the community hundreds of millions of shillings, and they're just scratching the earth and getting our minerals. We can do that and do it better because we have lived there for many years. So this is something that we need to engage fully so that we can get the necessary returns and sustainability. In terms of break-up organization, that is something that we can engage with you personally just to see the various viabilities. So I know my time is gone, and I can see several people wanted to ask questions. What I would like to say is that the opportunity is there for you to engage through registering just for interest, for information purposes, or as a social member for the city, a professional or a contractor. Once you have all registered, we are hoping to do 1 or 2 webinars where we share our information in a better way than yesterday and today, because we've not been able to give you a proper presentation of what you can visualize as the city. But more than that, we would also like to get more ideas from you. We'd like to get more contribution, because this is not our thing, it's a thing that all of us should participate in. I'd also like to say, as I conclude, because this is my last night, I've come back to Cincinnati, but I've not confirmed that. What I would like to say to you that this wave is unstoppable. There's been a lot of international pressure to stop the move because once Africans are able to articulate and focus on our abilities and our resource and our human resource, we are definitely going to be in a better position worldwide. So for whatever reason, maybe just for the sake of your love for the mother continent, or your desire to see change, or your desire to see transformation, to eradicate poverty and to deal with other issues that affect the continent, I give you this challenge tonight, do something about it. I would also like to say, because I know maybe the PLO Foundation may not say that, there's already a lot of work being done by PLO Foundation. This is your greatest opportunity to support a non-political effort in the African continent, which is not just focused to one single country, but to several countries in Africa. Please do consider supporting the PLO Foundation, because that's another way of propagating the same agenda. As PLO said last night, he's a member of trustees of the ADI, is the bigger umbrella that propagates and promotes this kind of unity, which goes beyond just a simple, specific city of return, but captures the entire vision of Africans fulfilling their purpose and their calling in the continent. God bless you. Good evening.
Thank you so much, Jenga. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much, Professor Jenga, for what you're advocating for sure. We'll welcome you back to Cincinnati. Maybe we didn't do the best today or yesterday, but we'll
I can assure you what has gone through caters for every challenge that we could have faced. So I believe that there are few people, or maybe almost everybody here has captured something that will make them work on it.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is David Mutua, and if most of you probably saw me yesterday, and I just want to say one thing real quick. We are sorry, probably because of the time, and because the planning was to network real quick, but then we'll make it happen, for sure. So before PLO comes on the stage, or there's two books that I want to talk about. This is Rice, please. The books are there. This is $50, and that goes to PLO Foundation. If you want to buy one of these, please go on. It is there, and then we'll make it work for you. There is the leader. This is $20. Please make it happen. There's more copies there, and PLO himself will sign it for you, and we'll make sure that you take a photo with him, signing for that. And if we don't, because we might not have as many copies tonight, we'll make arrangements if you need to buy online and signed by PLO. Thank you so much. Before PLO, one thing I want to appreciate is that thank you all for coming. Prince already said that. Appreciate PLO Lumumba. When we started this a few months ago, 6 months ago, Professor Jenga said it is the One Voice Consortium. One Voice Consortium. Our leader, President Dr. Shuri in Columbus, called me and said, Mutua, we need to do this. PLO is coming. Even before PLO, there was, all these things we were talking about Wakanda. And ADDI, African Development Institute, Diaspora Development Institute, which is, most of you know, Alkana Shambori, Clara. You're looking forward to meet her in Columbus. So after this, we'll be going to Columbus on Friday, which will be the African Investors Conference. And after the African Investors Conference on Saturday, it will be the Agaza. Agaza, you've been, the Gaza, it's all, come on, please. You need to come to that event, those events. And that's where we'll talk about how can we do great things as Africans and people from African descent, and then also our brothers and sisters that are friends, that we're looking at how we drive. PLO will actually articulate that tonight. Sorry, I don't want to be the PLO tonight. Professor PLO will do that tonight. And before we bring PLO, we have great team here. Praise, my brother, will entertain us with his team. They will entertain us for a few minutes before, PLO comes on the stage. Please, let's do that. And then praise, because we are running late, a little late, and then PLO needs to.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Joe here in the
I'll do two quick
He said, again.
after this, I'll do a quick recognition of the PLO, the wife.
I need to go. And then the food is
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Praise. Thank you so much. Thank you with your team, everything. Every time we have events, especially AppNet events, we always they always perform very good dances. And for fellows out here, Praise has a kind of a school, a art school that they teach how to dance and is exercise. Sorry, you can hear me? Oh, sorry. It should be. Chef, can you check that? Hello. Yeah. I can. Thank you, Shem. And Shem is actually offered to do this event for free and make sure that we can get the sound and all. Yeah. Thank you, brother. Yeah. Thank you, Shem. Yeah. So it's a time. Let's recognize a few people that have been working with PLO, and especially I'll start with Christine. Christine, everything we've been planning for months. We've been working with Christine. Christine is a PLO Foundation director, in our African director. And we've been, Dr. Edmond is at US, the chapter. And whatever you want to know about PLO Foundation in the US is the patron in the US, living in Columbus, right? And all the meetings we've been with him, planning and everything. And they've done a wonderful job. And actually, for the last, for the 2 days we are hosting PLO here, the two have been helping us tremendously. A man always, Professor Jenga, I know you laugh. Yeah, you're smiling. You have your wife there. If it wasn't for your wife, you'll be the man who you are. I just want to appreciate my wife too, Levin Kaboy, and families that are here. The same thing. Lastly, before I introduce PLO Lumumba, we have Celestine Lumumba, and she's the wife of PLO. She's here with us, and Mama. In Africa, say Mama. You have a great man that is in Africa and all over the world. Thank you so much. We appreciate for that. It's a great woman. Yes. And to the stage, I just want to introduce Professor PLO Lumumba. I'm not going to say many words now because, please, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You may now resume your seats. Let me start by saying how thankful I am for the invitation that now sees me standing on this podium. The young volunteers who have taken time to ensure that the processes leading to this gathering are a success, I salute you. To the individuals in different parts of the United States who have facilitated this visit, I also salute them. I always tell my friends that when you want to know that an African has acclimatized in the United States, there are few tests that you perform. And one of them is when in Cincinnati, when they start saying Cincinnati, then you know they are now properly acclimatized in the United States. And when they are in New Mexico, when we were learning geography, there was a particular place in New Mexico which our teachers very confidently told us Albuquerque. Then we discovered that is Albuquerque. Then you know that they are in the United States of America. And of course, we come and ask for water and they say water. Then we know they're in the United States of America. But that aside, the significance of gatherings such as this is not because they give us the opportunity to deliver, but to talk about very practical things, particularly as it relates to the continent of Africa. The continent of Africa is the mother continent. And this we say times without number. There is not a single part of the world that has not known the benefit of the continent of Africa. Many of you will travel to Europe, to Brussels, which is the headquarters of the European Union. If you for one moment imagine that Brussels glitters, it glitters because of the minerals that she took from the Republic of Congo. If you stand at the entrance of the Buckingham Palace in the United Kingdom, which is not so united anyway, you see the gold there. It is true that that gold came from Ghana, which they referred to as the Gold Coast. And if you then are invited by an Englishman for a cup of tea and claim that it is English tea, that tea will have come from Kenya in Africa. And if indeed you go to Switzerland and they talk about the Swiss chocolate, however christened, that chocolate will have come from Cote d'Ivoire or Ghana or Togo. And if you go to many capitals of the world and you see electricity, perhaps some copper from Zambia was utilized. And if you come to this great United States of America and you desire to talk about her greatness, it is and daughters of Africa, spirited from her several years ago, that worked themselves to death to make this continent great. And if you go to Brazil, it is the same thing. And we say all these things to remind us that Africa has touched every part of the world. And there is a sense in which, gone through that furnace of trials and tribulations, the continent has been traumatized. And this trauma has undermined her. Many times that we talk about the division of Africa on that infamous day in Berlin in 1884, and we talk about it casually, if it was a historical event now fossilized in history. Yet its impact is as alive today as it was those years ago, and Africa continues to suffer because of the and rapacious events that took place in Berlin in 1884. Conflicts that undermine Africa's growth and development were manufactured in Berlin, so that today, when you look at the continent of Africa and you see Mali is underachieving, or Chad is underachieving, or Burkina Faso is underachieving, is not only because of Berlin in 1884, but because of the courtesy of Berlin, that the French still treat that part of the world as if it were a fiefdom of France. It is because of those activities that when we seek to do things as a continent, there is a sense in which for some reason we have now been persuaded that if the Portuguese were present in Cabo Verde and Guinea-Bissau, then the Cabo Verdean and the Guinea-Bissauen is different from the Liberian, and that does undermine us. And indeed, that is the very same attitude that we have when we go to the Democratic Republic of Congo, and we are quick to be reminded that the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo are different from the people of Central African Republic. These issues may be discussed as historical curiosities, but they are not, because Africa continues to be weighed down by these events. Indeed, one may say that that heritage continues to be like an albatross on the neck of Africa, and indeed, in many ways, her Achilles heel. But we have now taken a solemn vow that we cannot continue to be consigned in that corner of history and continue to labor under a perpetual state of lamentation. And that is why we are now beginning to ask ourselves the very important question, what it is that we can do in order to ensure that the continent of Africa does not continue to punch below her weight. And indeed, this question is one that has troubled many Africans, or those who belong to the continent of Africa, or those of our sons and daughters who live in the diaspora. On the 5th day of the month of April in 1906, a young South African, whom some of you have read about, sometimes referred to as the father or the founder of the African National Congress in South Africa, Pixley Kaisa Kase, was participating in a debate here in the United States at the University of Columbia, and he delivered a speech which then was to inform succeeding generations of African freedom fighters. And the title of that speech, which I commend to you to read, is The Regeneration of Africa. And the word regeneration was used very deliberately, and I use it very deliberately, because when we talk about the regeneration, we mean that there was an Africa which was performing at a certain level, but she was reduced in her level of performance, with the consequence that she now punches, as I've already said, below her weight, and she punches below her weight in the arena of economics. She punches below her weight in the arena of military strength. She punches below her weight in the political arena. And many are the times that when she is invited to the dinner table of the nations of the world, she is not invited as a diner, but she is invited as a waiter to wait on other civilizations. And we are now convinced that that position must. And we are posing to ourselves the question, how can that be reversed? And we are conscious of the fact that there are 1.4 billion or 1.5 billion individuals who are in the continent of Africa, but we are also aware that there are nearly 400 million individuals of African origin to be found in all the continents of the world. They are to be found here in the United States of America. They are to be found in South America or Latin America, some would prefer to call it. They are to be found in Australia. They are to be found in Asia. They are to be found in Europe. And some of them came here and willingly their ancestors had been enslaved. And some, and that includes most of you who are present in this arena, have come here in search of knowledge. And you came here in search of knowledge, in the knowledge that that knowledge would be used and would be deployed in the mother continent. And you are now serving this continent in different capacities. So that indeed today, when you look at the Africans in the diaspora, if you want to look at some of the best doctors that Africa has ever produced, you come to the United States of America or you visit Europe. If you want to find some of the best engineers that Africa has ever produced, they come and they are resident in this continent. If you want to look at the best architects, they are to be found here. If you want to look at some of the best lawyers, they are possibly to be found here. If you want to look at the best academicians and researchers, they are to be found here. And despite the fact that they have geographically relocated from the mother continent, there is something that is resident in them and alive in them that asks them the quintessential question: what can we do in order to contribute to the development of the mother continent? And that is what legitimizes this gathering this evening. You are here because the question is being posed to you rhetorically: what can we do so that the mother continent can realize our potential? During the short period that I've been here, I've been asked many questions. But those many questions can actually be conflated with a single question: how can we regenerate the mother continent? That is the question. It may come in different permutations, but the question is, how can we regenerate her? And this is not an arcane science. It can be done, and it has been done. And many of you, in your many ways, are doing it. But the question is how to do it better. This is the question. Many of you who are present in this room are aware that it is because of your remittances every month that your families are alive today. It is because of your remittances every month that your mothers, your fathers, your sisters, your brothers are alive today, because you enabled them to go to some health facility and they were rescued by those remittances. Many of you are here and aware that were it not for your intervention, your siblings would not go to school. Many are here who have come out of their environments in Africa because the environment was hostile and they could not fulfill themselves, but yet the basis of their departure from the continent notwithstanding, they are still asking this nagging and this perennial question: what can we do to generate or to regenerate the continent of Africa? That same question that Isaac Kaseme asked in 1906. You know, you are in the Western world, and many times in ordinary discourse, you talk about the fourth industrial revolution. You talk about nanotechnology. You talk about 5G. These are the things that you talk about. But I know somewhere in South Sudan, they are not talking about those things. I know somewhere in Tigray, in Ethiopia, they are not talking about those things. I know somewhere in northern Mozambique, not talking about those things. I know somewhere in Chad, in Mali, in Mauritania, in Ambazonia, they are not talking about those things. They do not have the peace of mind that enables them to talk about those things. Those are the things that are going to revolutionize and change the continent of Africa. Those are the things that we expect you to take back home. So that Africa, as I see her today, and I'm not a doctor, but I think I can be some license to use a term that is medical, and particularly in the arena of mental health, that Africa presents in a very schizophrenic way. She has a split personality. There are parts of her that can talk about the things that I've mentioned, but there are parts of her that cannot afford that luxury. But yet, we cannot allow Africa to be overtaken during this fourth industrial revolution. The question is, how are you going to facilitate that? When I look at the mobile phone, it came when I was alive and well and an adult of sound mind, the mobile phone. I've seen her grow. I remember the days when if you owned a mobile phone which was mounted in your car, it was a symbol of your social status. I remember those days as if it was yesterday. I remember when it graduated, when Nokia was the thing that you had to have in your pocket. And if you had it, you had to have every excuse to expose it to whoever was sitting next to you. I remember those days so very vividly. And I remember that there was at one time BlackBerry, and you had every opportunity to demonstrate to your neighbor that you are the proud owner of BlackBerry. I remember those days vividly. And I remember that we grew from that, and there were only things that you use for communication. But I now know for a fact that that little gadget has revolutionized the banking sector in Africa. You can sit in the comfort of this room and send money to your mother or your sister in Banjul in the Gambia, or Freetown in Sierra Leone, on Monrovia or Bangui or Mbambane in Eswatini. That is how technology has changed the world. Whether you call it wave or you call it anything else, it has changed the world. Why do I say that? That because the contribution that you are allowed or you ought to be making to Africa should be sensitive of the technological realities that are now rampant in the world and are changing African societies. When my good friend Dr. Njenga was speaking and talking about Wakanda, this movie was played, it was sci-fi. That is what you saw it for. There is now an attempt to construct that sci-fi and bring it on the ground so that Wakanda, in the manner in which he presented here, may be something that it is up there high. But if you break it down, you are simply saying that we are trying to look for African solution to African problems. That is my understanding of the Wakandization of these particular issues. So that we as people in the African continent must ask very fundamental question. What is it that we can do? And I want to share a few things so that I do not give a wordy account of what is obvious. The diaspora is critical for the next phase of the growth of Africa. The statistics vary depending on who is saying what. But there is unanimity on one thing, that the remittances that Africa receives from her sons and daughters in actual dollars is anything between 50 and 50 billion United States dollars. That is what is documented. There are other intangibles and other undocumented support that Africa receives from her sons and daughters. But because they are uncoordinated, sometimes the impact is not felt as it ought to be felt. I think it is yesterday or the day before yesterday when I told my audience that when you want to change the world, you've got to be like water, agile and formless. When it is in a glass, shape of a glass. When it is in a bottle, it takes the shape of a bottle. When it is collected in a small puddle, it is called a pond. When it is flowing, you call it a river. When it is confined by land, sometimes you call it a sea. When it knows no boundaries and separates continents, you call it an ocean. But yet, its great splendor lies in the fact that it is adaptable. I'm now suggesting to you and to all of us here that one of the ways in which you can make great impact in the continent of Africa is to unite your efforts. Since I came here, I've seen and I've interacted with several organizations that are run by Africans and support Africa, people of African origin, people who are doing great things in the continent of Africa. Some of them I did not know, some I knew. But it surprises me that some of these interventions are to be found in the inner recesses of the continent of Africa. Yesterday, I had this with Judge Yates, and I discovered that an organization in which he serves is active, changing lives in Kenya. This morning, I interacted with Dr. Lewis, and I discovered that some of the work they are doing is changing lives in Tanzania. And many more stories that have not been told and which are known to you. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that Africa is a great continent and is capable of even being greater. The question that you must ask yourself and pause for a moment to ponder over is what you can do. Even as I'm here, if I was an evangelical priest, I would ask you to pause for a moment and empty your minds and think about Africa. That continent that is shaped like a question mark. And ask yourself, what question is she asking you? I'm speaking particularly to the younger generation who are present here. Ask yourself that question. You've come here to the United States of America to acquire that knowledge. How are you going to deploy that knowledge to change your village? Ask yourself that question. I'm not asking you to physically relocate to Zimbabwe or to Zambia or to Sierra Leone or to Nigeria or to Ambazonia or the Cameroon or Senegal. But I'm asking you to find a way of stretching your hands in a sustainable way and save your mother continent. There used to be a basketball player in this United States of America called Dikembe Mutombo. He did not say many wise things, but he said one wise thing. That when you have used the elevator to take you up, make sure it goes down to bring others up. You have come here via an elevator, make sure the elevator goes down. I also remember those immortal words spoken by the American civil rights fighter, Jesse Jackson, when he said, "Don't look at a man or a woman who is down unless you want to raise him up." Suggesting to you, for those of you who are not of African origin, forget about the images that are played by CNN of doom and gloom. There is glow and glitter in the continent of Africa. And I'm suggesting to you that we can improve that image, because tell me, what is there in the world that can never be made even better? That is our duty. We come from a continent whose sons and daughters have demonstrated that they are resilient. Tom Paine has never visited the continent of Africa. If you want to understand man's inhumanity to man in its ugliest splendor, ask the African. Just this afternoon, we went to the underground rail and we saw man's inhumanity to man. That yet the Africa is alive and well. And once that face of us had been eliminated by Africans and other civilizations of goodwill, those whose only claim to fame is to trample Africa underfoot, brought yet another scheme of man's inhumanity to man, the colonial project. And that too disappeared somehow. And when that also lost its luster, they brought another thing called the neo-colonial project, which is a life Kwame Nkrumah, the Osagyefo of Ghana, says that there is nothing more pernicious than the neo-colonial project because it is slavery and colonialism and neo-colonialism rolled into one, but wearing a friendly mask. He compares it to the Trojan horse. That is where we find ourselves. So the 400 million people of African origin who are resident outside of the continent of Africa, what is the contribution that you can and must make? For how can you afford a sleep if you are Zambian, if your village has no potable water? How can you? Even if you sleep, sleep departs from your eyes. If you are from Zimbabwe and you know that there is 90% unemployment, how can you possibly sleep soundly? If you are from Ambazonia and you know that if you visit your rural home, you are a possible victim of kidnap, how can you possibly afford the luxury of sleeping? And if you are from Nigeria, how can you? If you are from Ethiopia and you know that 4.4 million are displaced in Tigray, how can you? Even if you wanted to sleep, sleep departs. And this is why you are here in this assembly. You would have been elsewhere, but you have chosen to be here in order that we may share our thoughts on how Africa can be regenerated. And I'm not saying the things that I'm saying because I have the monopoly of knowledge and wisdom. No. Any one of you who have been bitten by the bug of Africa could have been possibly invited here, and you would possibly be saying the same things with greater passion and possibly greater eloquence than I can ever master. What I'm doing is to share my thoughts with you in the knowledge that these ideas that I'm propagating are only valuable if they are cross-fertilized and cross-pollinated. Brethren, when one thinks about Mother Africa and the need for a regeneration, one can go on and on. But as a young student of economics, I was taught that there is something called the law of diminishing returns. And that law is now beginning to operate in your minds and hearts. And that law now tells me that I must conclude. And conclude I will by telling you that going forward, it is going to be necessary that we combine our efforts so that we may help the mother continent. Whatever you are doing, whatever organization that you belong to, make sure that you are coordinated. Always remember this saying, which is the saying of the wise, which is not original to me, but which I use every so often, that the ocean cannot exist in split. You cannot be the ocean, but be a good droplet. Always remember that the tree cannot be the forest, but there is no forest without a tree. Be a good tree. That is all we ask. I have no doubt in my mind that those of us who are in the mother continent, the little things that we are doing, and the little things that we are doing, if we combine our efforts, we will not change the world dramatically. But what we will have done will change the world. Because some in the United States of America, the man with whose quote I want to conclude happens to be an American Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said that if you make the world clean, don't complain. Sweep your front yard. And once you sweep your front yard and your neighbor sweeps their front yard, the whole world will be clean. And I remember Ralph Waldo Emerson also said that if a better mousetrap than your neighbor, then even if you live in the wood, the world will make a wooden path to where you live. I'm asking you today to sweep your front yard and to make a better mousetrap. And together, you of African origin, whether you relocate physically to Yaoundé in Cameroon or you do it virtually, I do not care. What I care is that you are making a contribution and you are changing your village, hamlet by hamlet. It can be done, it must be done, because if it is not done, we ourselves may be done. God bless you.
I want us to give one more innovation to Dr. PLO. So I know that he would take few questions, right, from the audience. So I'm gonna go around, and David Mutua. Yes. David Mutua is he's taking my MC job. I'm like, David, you don't take my job as an MC for tonight. Mutua, David, come on stage, man. Come on, David. David is a good guy, and that's my brother right here. Thanks so much, David. So David and I are gonna help with the Q&A. David, can you go around and maybe if anyone has questions, please reach out to David real quick. Yeah, David. Yeah. There's one person in the back, David. Yeah.
So we're taking how many questions? 3. All right. We'll do 3 questions and minimum 2. So let's listen.
Yes, great, thank you, Professor. My question is, how do we or you capture a portion of this now and pass it on through mentorship, or what's being done to make sure that more PLO Lumumbas will follow?
Thank you very much. You know, only this morning I was interacting with his students at the university, and I shared with them an African proverb that he or she who has not traveled thinks that his mother or her mother is the best cook. And I think the wisdom I'm saying is that the more one travels, the more one recognizes that there are many people who are doing good things. This is what has amazed me. As I've traveled across the continent of Africa, I see young men and women doing amazing things. The only difference is that a few of us perhaps have our ideas given the oxygen of publicity. What we need to do, therefore, is to share this oxygen so that younger men and women who are good things are also prominent in the thing that they are doing. And in addition to that is this thing that we call mentorship. Because if you want to determine whether you are a leader, and leadership simply means, from where I sit, that offering service that is changing lives, It makes no sense if you do not hold the hand of many others. I like making reference to this story that many West Africans will have heard, the story that is told in Chinua as Things Fall Apart, or I think it is also repeated in the book No Longer at Ease, where one of the people is speaking and is asking, where are the young suckers that will grow when the old banana dies? And you yourself are involved in very many initiatives and are involved in initiatives, and I'm quite certain that there are men and women who are following what you are doing. The saying goes that as mother cow chews, baby cow watches and sees how it is done. And to me, that is what mentorship is all about. The mother cow that is chewing and the baby cow is watching so that they can even perfect what you are doing. Because there is no greater recompense for a teacher than to produce pupils who surpass him or her. And from where we sit, through our foundation, through our presence in 38 countries within the continent and 10 outside of the continent, what we are trying to do is to ensure that we energize people. And you don't change people. You find somebody is good in a particular area, then you energize them in that area. You don't want to clone people. You don't want to create people who are like yourself. So that is the way we are doing it. And I hope that all of us in this room are trying to do things of that nature. Many of you are already doing that. Just continue doing it even better. Thank you. There's a question.
All right, now we get the next person for the question. We go to the young man here.
Professor PLO Lumumba, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm grateful for the opportunity to express myself. My name is Aura Ujana. I currently represent Madagascar, and I'm an economics and mathematics student at Northern Kentucky University. I have been in the US for 2 years now, and my presence here is, I would say, a succession of blessings from having been raised in Morocco for 7 years, and then in Cote d'Ivoire for the end of high school, to being here tonight, to having traveled in dozens of countries in Europe. And I have two questions. What can I do as a college student to locally make an impact? Because for now, with the sanitary situation, I can only travel back home, so I have to be in my classroom and with my peers. So what can I do in this area to make a difference? And my second question is for you, Professor Phil. If you were 20 years old, what question would you ask yourself to make sure you're on the right track? To make sure you're about to press the right button, to make sure that the elevator goes down and comes back even higher. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Very, very useful questions, and I'm glad that you've really traveled across. You are in Morocco, you are in La Côte d'Ivoire, and you are from Madagascar. Those of you who do not know Madagascar, some of the longest names are to be found in Madagascar, even their own capital, Antananarivo, or their former president, Rava Lomanana. So if you... Yes, it so that tells you. And already I think you're on the right track. I want to start with the first question that you posed directly to me. That question I had when I was 18 years old. I was a Form 3 student, and I remember this very distinctly. We started a small youth club in my rural home. And even as I speak to you, the little land that I persuaded my father to give the organization is still there. And that is very important, that of course when you are young, you'll make a few mistakes here and there, and I think that is allowed. That is allowed. But the most important thing is that you must be clear about certain things. And perhaps this may sound a little artificial, because you cannot be too clear about certain things at a certain stage in your life. In many ways, you have a buffet of ideas. And as you grow older, you sample quite a number of things in the buffet. And that is where then becomes very important. Because if you are being mentored, you are then able to identify the things for which you have passion. I know, for example, in our generation, or even generation, those who are a little older than us, that there is the tendency for parents to live through you. A parent who could not be a doctor now says, we must have a doctor in our house. And you have no passion at all for medicine. And you are being forced to do this thing. Or you see, we must have a lawyer, and some of you will be familiar with this kind of thing. Yet your son or daughter be a DJ. Let the fellow be a DJ all they want. but so in direct answer to your question, I hold the ought to agitate in Tanzania. The Nigerian community ought to do the same thing. The Ghanaian community ought to do the same thing. And continentally, I think that the people of Africa in the diaspora should now even demand observer status at the AU, so that at every meeting of the African Union, you have 15 minutes to address the African heads of states and government on the state of the diaspora. And I think that is something that if you did, you can achieve. And don't, those of you who are from One Voice, this is the kind of thing that you ought to be agitating, your own organization. And you write a petition to the president of the council and the president of the union, Mahamat and Tshisekedi Felix of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And if you do it, I think it is something that they will be able to understand. Because what happens when these leaders come here, they are so shielded from the reality that what they do is that they are chaperoned from one five-star hotel to the other. They don't have interaction. The questions that they are asked are pre-arranged so that it would appear that it is random, but the people have been pre-selected to pose pre-selected questions. The answers were written before they left their homes, and the whole thing is a charade. And that, I think, is one of the things that you must not allow to happen to you. When you have a leader or leaders who want to serve you, the questions must come from the hearts and minds of men, not a Hollywood act. Thank you very much. There is a young Kenyan there who at one time I was asked, Otieno was at one time people used to ask me, why is it that you say these things and you don't seek public office? So in the year 2007, I sought to be a parliamentary candidate somewhere in Nairobi. And you'll remember we held over 250 town hall meetings, and I was explaining things. I was waxing eloquent, saying I'll give nobody any amount of money. And on the day of the election, we discovered that the people we were talking to are not voters in our constituency. So you may ask the question. That is how I'm meeting him since I last met him in the year 2007.
Hey guys, Mwesh. We used to call him Mwesh, Mweshimiwa. Mwesh was a big name. Apparently things fall apart. But Mwesh, we respect you. We respect that you've been here with us. We're happy to have you here. David, we thank everybody for just hosting this event. What I can say is this. I want you to help us. I know you can help us. I know in 2007, things fell apart. But I'm glad you're here. You're here because of us. You're here because of Africans, not Kenyans necessarily. So, let me remove my heart just for respect. What are we doing? I know everybody, every Kenyan here is doing anything they can do to help their families. We have not talked about that. People send money. People do what they have to do just to help their families. How are we going to talk about that? We are talking about investments. Already you're investing, putting your money right there. But how are we going to help each other? How are we fight? We are fighting. Actually, one day I was with someone from Senegal. They speak French, I don't speak French. We have to help it. We have to lift each other up, you know. And thank you for PLO for coming here. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, everybody, for coming here. Today, if you have a question, don't go without asking. You want to just
Thank you very much. What I not, yeah, the United States has been very kind to you. Because no, that is why I think it has been very. You didn't have this protection. Okay, just one more question. Let's have one more question and then we close it. Thank you. Thank you. I think let's have the lady from Senegal, or rather from Sierra Leone.
I wanted to ask a question. So I see that you transitioned the phrase "Make America Great Again" to "Make Africa Great Again." So I wanted to know, what are your 3 visions that you can give us to go home with? Because I've pondered about this for a long time. I'm sure many of you have pondered. How do you see Africa be the great country that it is? With our borders, with our economics, and just with our language, the visions that we have. What are 3 things that you can give us and tell us that you see your vision of making Africa great again, and how we can really build that?
Thank you very much. The answer that I'm going to give you is not anything that has not been thought about. Number 1. In order for Africa to realize our potential, we must break down the boundaries. And when I say break down the boundaries, I'm not naive about it. We must allow free movement of labor, because the greatest resource in any country in the world is human resource. The ability to make labor mobile is one of the things that is going to allow Africa to realize our potential. And I say that as being very fundamental. There are a number of countries that have already done that. In Rwanda now, if you are an African, you don't need a work permit. I expect that that should happen. And under the Kigali Protocol, one of the things that Africa has also resolved is that we must move towards one passport. Once you do that and enable labor to move as item number 1, then you are going to improve Africa. Number 2 is that Africans must be in a position where they add value to their resources. And this can be done. Professor Njenga here is already telling you we start with agriculture, just value addition. Look at pineapples that they are producing from their farms. They must move away from exporting pineapple in its raw form. It must be pineapple which is ready to go to the supermarket. Value addition is going to be very important, and particularly those of you who are in the United States of America and other parts of the world, that is one of the things that we must do to our coffee, to our chocolate, to our things. And once we do that, we will ensure that we create a labor move, create employment opportunities, and that is why we are talking about the removal of tariff and non-tariff barriers within the continent. Number 5, we must ensure that governments have policies that are enabling. And this too can be done. Because if you don't have policy positions and a legal environment that is facilitating, then you are not going to change countries. And you may ask, how is this achievable? Is by making demands. Is it happening anywhere in the world? Yes, it is happening in different parts of Africa now. You have countries that are now saying that if you are organized as people from the diaspora and you want to invest, we'll have tax holidays and all those things. And if you are taking things in certain sectors of the economy, if it is in education, if it is in health, they will be tax exempt. All these things that I'm saying are not things that are coming out of my mind, because I know that under Africa Agenda 2063, they have been articulated under the 7 pillars of the African development for 2063. And they've also been re-articulated in the instruments of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And if you look regionally, they have also been articulated under the instruments of SADC, those of ECOWAS, those of Central Africa, those of the East African Community, and those of Maghreb. What we ought to do, in my view, is to go into a phase of implementation. I was telling somebody in the African Union, Africa is a graveyard of beautiful instruments which are honored in breach. Let us pose this idea of coming up with more to implement. And you will be shocked. There is not a single area that you and me can think of which has not been articulated within some instrument of Africa. I was telling somebody, look at the area of medicine alone. As early as the year 2001, on the first day of April in Abuja, in Nigeria, African governments met and said, we are each going to dedicate 12% of our budget in the area of health. Only Botswana and Rwanda did it, and they were 10%. If you look at the whole idea of having only not more than 10 people in the, not more than 100 people in the continent of Africa have the African passport. And if you carried the African passport and arrived at Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport in Abuja, they'll ask you, what is this? So these are the things that I'm talking about. So lastly, in answering your very important question, I would have that the African Union deliberately, through the various embassies and consulates in the United States of America, has engagements with Africans in the diaspora. And this can be achieved initially through regions. You could engage ECOWAS as ECOWAS, engage SADC, engage East African Community as East African Community, engage countries that are under COMESA. And if you do that, then you will be thoroughly educated. And when you are thoroughly educated, then you go into the implementation phase. And these things are possible. Just to give you an example how Africa sometimes can be frustrated. Under the East African Community, we ought to have free movement of goods and services and free movement of labor. In the month of February last year, I'm visiting Sudan, South Sudan in Juba. And insist I must have a visa. When I arrive in Juba, they stamped for me that I must leave Juba within 30 days, and after the third day, I must be registered with the nearest police station. I go to Khartoum in Sudan, and immediately you arrive in your hotel, you've got to be registered with the nearest Khartoum. Now, I arrive in the United States of America on the 7th day of the month July. They stamp my passport. If wanted, I can stay in the United States until the month, the 6th of January, the year 2022. And the story I'm making, in my own Africa, I can only do 30 days. Even in Nigeria, when I arrive in Nigeria today, they'll tell me I must leave Nigeria within 30 days. You cannot grow if you do that. And look, we flew from Fort Myers in Florida, a 3-hour, 50 minutes flight. Same country, same currency. It is assumed, but in Africa, and I've said this before, in 3 hours from Nairobi, Kenya, I would have been in Tanzania, I would have been in Zambia, I would have been in Malawi, I would have been in Mozambique, dealing with Kenya shilling, dealing with Kwacha, dealing with Metical in Mozambique, then we wonder how and why African countries' economies can't grow. Have you ever had any African currency called? They can't be. And these are the little things that Africa is grappling. In the East African community, we said that we would have a single currency, I think, by the year 2025. We can't. In ECOWAS, you try to have a currency called ECO before the French hijacked it because they want the CFA franc. So these are little things, and you have ideas. Look at Europe today. 27 countries. You move from Bratislava in Slovakia to Lisboa, and you are dealing with one currency. You have removed tariff and non-tariff barriers. You can grow. But you try to move goods from Lusaka in Zambia to Nampula in Mozambique. If there are eggs, if there are 1,000, if you have 10 remaining, you thank the heavens. So thank you very much.
I think let's give Professor Lumumba one more. I know we are almost done, but we have some few announcements. The books are here for sale. You can pay by Cash App. So please make sure you get books. Also, special thanks to, I'm going to call Clara to give some announcements, but I'll give a special thanks to NKU students, UC students for helping with this. So if I don't say thank you and dad who are here, I'll be in trouble. Guys, for a few minutes. So thank you so much for all your help. I'll pass to give some special thanks. Yeah.
All right, Jet, I'm not going to say anything much, but I just want to say thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you so much, Professor Pielo. I'm still praying and fasting on the idea that my son might want to be a DJ, and I have to allow it. So thank you, everybody, and please buy a book if you haven't. And in Zimbabwe, we like to say those with ears, hear. So whatever Professor Pielo said tonight, if you have ears, you have heard, so go forth and make sure you implement. Thank you all.
All right, guys, we are gonna take a group picture. So please don't go one big.
Too big.
You think you want to do
but organize.
Organize.
Organize. Yeah? No, don't. Just the way you said group.
Okay.
Some will go, some will make. Yeah. Then what you can do is clear.
So we're trying to do the picture. Then we're gonna make a picture now. All right, DJ, 1 second. All right. Okay, give me 1 minute. Hey, Mauricio, wait. All right, guys, we are gonna do a photo session. Order, please, order. Order. So we're going to do a photo session, but it has to be orderly. Priority for the people who, hey, relax. The people who have bought books will.
Excuse me, Thank you so much for everybody for coming. And then we're gonna do some pictures and to be organized. If you have to do groups. And then we'll provide, we have somebody taking the pictures there. We'll provide a website where you can download or print your picture. Hello? Pictures at the place. Please, please, just have this line, man, please. Let's the line.
We know how stressful it can get to take care of the healthcare needs of your loved ones, especially when they live far away from you. Money transfer services have expensive fees. They cannot ensure that your money is spent on the intended healthcare needs. And there are many questionable pharmacies that sell low quality, unsafe, and even counterfeit medications. That is why we created Diaspora, a secure, quick, and cost-effective way to pay for the medications of your loved ones through our network of accredited and registered pharmacies. So here's how it works. Meet David. He lives far away from home. Unfortunately, his mother was recently diagnosed with diabetes, but she can't afford her new medication. So after funding his Diaspora account, David enrolls his mother as a beneficiary, and a unique PIN code is issued. Think of this as a digital voucher that David paid for in advance. David's mother presents the PIN code at one of our accredited and registered in-network pharmacies. The cost of her medication is deducted from David's account, and his mother can walk in and out of the pharmacy with the medication she needs. It's as easy as that. David can also assign his uncle who lives close to his mother as a caretaker to help her follow the new diabetes treatments. For extra security, David can also create one-time PIN codes and manually confirm and approve medication purchases too. It's easy to send more money home and hope they got spent on buying safe medication. But what if you can have control over how your money is spent, gain access to safe and quality medication, and purchase multiple medications for multiple family members who are in need? Your money goes a lot farther, and healthcare becomes a lot more inclusive. Diaspora was created by Diaspora members for Diaspora members that help provide greater access to safe, quality, and affordable medications for your loved ones back home. It's time for your loved ones to get the quality medication they need, and for you to get the peace of mind you deserve. Sign up today and register your loved ones for free at diaspocare.com.